The poolside crowd gasped in horror as a woman in a tailored dress struggled, thrashing in the deep end, her arms flailing for air. No lifeguard moved, no assistant dared to jump in. Just when it seemed she'd sink beneath the shimmering water, a single dad, shirt half untucked, sneakers still on, leapt without hesitation, cutting through the chaos like lightning. His only thought: save her. He didn't care that she was the CEO, the most powerful woman in the city. At that moment, she was just a life slipping away. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. The poolside had been filled with laughter, the kind of high society chatter that made ordinary people feel out of place. Glasses of champagne sparkled in the sun. Deals were being whispered over hors d'oeuvres. And the woman at the center of it all, Charlotte Hayes, the iron-willed CEO of Hayes Industries, walked confidently near the edge, but the heel of her designer shoe snagged on the uneven tile. In one terrible second, Charlotte slipped. The splash silenced the crowd. Her body hit the water, and panic unfolded instantly. Her security froze, executives backed away, and someone muttered, "She can swim, right?" But Charlotte's arms flailed wildly. Her sharp power had vanished into raw fear. From the corner, Daniel Carter, single dad, mechanic by trade, and delivery runner for the catering service, saw it. He didn't think. He didn't hesitate. He dropped the tray in his hands, the plates shattering, and sprinted. The crowd gasped again as he dove headfirst into the pool. Cold water crashed against his face, the weight of his clothes dragging him down. But he kicked harder, eyes locked on her sinking figure. Reaching her, he wrapped one arm around her waist, pulling her up as she clawed at his shoulder in panic. "Hold on!" he shouted, his voice muffled in the splashes. When they broke the surface, Charlotte coughed violently, choking on water, clinging to him as if he was the only thing keeping her tethered to life. Daniel dragged her to the edge. "Somebody help me get her out!" he barked. At last, a few shaken assistants rushed forward, pulling her trembling body onto the deck. As Daniel climbed out, dripping and gasping, Charlotte's wide, terrified eyes met his. For a moment, the CEO who never let anyone see weakness looked small, human, and grateful. Sirens never came, no one had called. The party resumed in a strange, nervous quiet, like people waiting for permission to breathe again. Charlotte Hayes sat wrapped in a hotel towel at a corner table, hair dripping, mascara smudged to soft shadows beneath her eyes. She should have been furious at her security team or embarrassed by the witnesses. Instead, her gaze stayed locked on the soaked guy wringing out his shirt near the heater vents. "Mr. she called, voice rasped raw from chlorine and adrenaline. "Daniel." "Daniel Carter," he said, shivering, glancing around as if waiting for someone to tell him he didn't belong. A VP swooped in. "Miss Hayes, press her outside. If we move quickly, we can frame this as..." "As what?" Charlotte said, eyes never leaving Daniel. "A near-fatal moment at our shareholder brunch." The VP deflated. "We'll keep it internal." "Do that." She stood and walked toward Daniel, wincing when the wet towel tugged at the sprained muscles in her back. "You saved my life." "Anyone would have jumped," he said. "You and I both know that's not true." She extended a hand. "Charlotte." He looked at her hand, unsure if he was allowed to shake it. He did anyway, firm, respectful, no performative grip. "You okay?" "I am now." Her mouth quirked in a weary smile. "You're freezing. Let's get you dry clothes." He shook his head. "I've got a route to finish. Catering vans on a meter. You just pulled me out of the deep end, and you're worried about a parking ticket." "Those add up," he said softly. Then, as if embarrassed by the truth, he added, "I've got to grab my kid by 6. Her attention sharpened. "Your child?" "Evan. He's 8. He swiped at a busted knuckle that had opened in the dive. "He's expecting me." Charlotte glanced at his hands, scar lines, clean nails, the kind of old damage you earn fixing other people's broken things. "I'll have my driver take you." He almost said no on instinct. Pride rose like a wall. Then the manager from the catering company shouted from the gate, "Carter, you left a mess." You're paying for those plates. Daniel flinched, embarrassed, and wiped water from his eyes. It's fine. I'll cover it. Charlotte stepped between him and the manager without raising her voice. Send the invoice to my office. That was my event. The broken plates are on me. The manager's mouth opened, closed. Yes, ma'am. Charlotte turned back to Daniel. Please let me drive you. You're shaking. He relented with a single nod. The Bentley felt like another planet. Daniel sat gingerly on the leather, trying not to soak it, while Charlotte's head of security radioed ahead and her communications director tapped frantically on a phone. Can we not, Charlotte said, without looking away from Daniel, turn a human moment into a brand opportunity? No press, no posts. If anyone leaks, I'll know. Yes, ma'am, the comms director murmured, dimming the phone screen. As they pulled onto Westlake, Charlotte asked, Where to? Riverside Apartments, he said. Building C, please don't. Pull into the front. People talk. She nodded, as if she understood the unspoken layers. Pride, privacy, survival in a place where gossip traveled faster than truth. Traffic thinned. City noise faded into the hum of tires. For a stretch, neither spoke. Daniel stared out the window at a city that always seemed designed for people richer, louder, and less tired than he felt most days. Thank you, Charlotte said again, quieter now. I keep replaying the way the water swallowed the sound. I've never felt that kind of silence, he nodded. It's always quiet under the surface. That's the scary part. You a swimmer? High school, he said. Then life got busy. What do you do besides save CEOs at brunch? A corner of his mouth lifted. Mechanic? Nights and weekends, deliveries. Whatever keeps the lights on. Evan's got braces this year. He paused. Look, I don't want anything. Don't think this is some angle. You don't owe me. I know what it feels like to be owed and to owe, she said. This isn't that. This is human. He studied her profile, a woman built of angles and decisions, then looked away when he realized he was staring. The car stopped behind Building C, near a cracked basketball hoop and a picnic table scarred with initials. Daniel checked the dashboard clock. 5:36 p.m. Thanks, really. May I meet your son? She asked suddenly, surprising even herself. I'd like to tell him his dad is a hero. He hesitated. The word hero made him itchy, but the truth of what Evan had been through, nights, where dinner meant cereal and laughter to drown out, worry meant it wouldn't hurt for him to see his father through kinder eyes. Give me 2 minutes, he said. I'll grab him and a dry shirt. Charlotte stayed in the car, watching a boy burst out the door, a backpack bouncing, sneakers untied, brown hair sticking up like he'd run fingers through it one too many times. He flung himself at Daniel, who scooped him up with a soft, "Hey, champ," despite the wet clothes. The boy's eyes cut to the car and widened. Whoa, is that? A friend gave us a ride, Daniel said. The rear door opened. Charlotte stepped out, still in the towel and hotel robe someone had found for her. An image so un-CEO-like that Evan stared, then grinned. Did you go swimming in your clothes? Long story, she said, crouching to his height. Your dad jumped in to help me. Evan looked at his father like the world had suddenly confirmed something he'd always suspected. He does that, he said matter-of-factly. He helps people. A knot formed in Daniel's throat. He ruffled his son's hair. We help when we can. Charlotte glanced at the peeling paint, the mailbox stuffed with flyers for payday loans, the open window 3 floors up, where someone laughed too loudly at nothing at all. She made a decision she didn't announce. Do you both like pizza? Evan's eyes sparkled. Does anyone not like pizza? Then tonight's on me, she said, standing. And Mr. Carter, Daniel, if it's not overstepping, there's a first aid kit in the car. Your knuckle needs cleaning. He started to protest, then saw the dried crescent of blood. I'll take you up on that. They sat at the warped picnic table. The driver jogged to a corner store. Minutes later, he returned with pizza boxes and bottled water. Charlotte cleaned Daniel's knuckle with practiced, careful hands. I volunteered in an ER in college, she explained when he raised a brow. And before spreadsheets ate my soul, he smirked. Thought you were born reading P&L statements. Contrary to legend, I learned to be human first. A small figure approached from the breezeway, Ms. Alvarez, 60-something who lived alone in 2B. Cane tapping out a rhythm on the concrete. She paused, taking in the car, the robe, the pizza. "Danny," she said, voice warm with nosy affection, "did you win the lottery?" "Not today, Ms. A." He stood, guiding her to the bench. "Want a slice?" Her eyes flicked to the cleaned knuckle, then to Charlotte's damp hair and expensive posture. "And you are?" "Charlotte," she offered a hand. "I nearly had a very bad day. Your neighbor prevented it." Miss Alvarez's gaze softened. "He does that. Help you, I mean. He fixed my heater last winter and refused money. Said kindness is a layaway plan." Charlotte took those words like a pebble to the heart, small, precise, creating ripples long after it sank. "Then maybe I owe the layaway plan some interest." Evans slurped water and stage whispered, "Dad, that means you get paid." He looked at Charlotte, suddenly worried. "Not like, a weird way," she laughed, unexpected, unguarded. "A very normal way, in fact." She glanced at Daniel. "My company just bought a dying supplier. Their maintenance is a mess. The team needs someone who can fix what's broken and make people trust the fix." She held his eyes. "You interested in a trial contract?" "Short term. No overtime traps. Union pay scale. Health coverage." Daniel froze. He'd been offered opportunities before, ones that ended with broken promises, and hours that stole weekends from Evan. He swallowed. "I can't live at a plant," he said. "My kid needs me home by dinner most nights." "If that's a deal breaker." "It isn't," she said. "We'll build the schedule around you. If we agree on scope and boundaries." He studied her face for the tell. Some corporate glaze, some hint of the catch. All he found was steady intent. He nodded slowly. "Then I'm listening. And I'm not offering this because you saved me," she added, surprising both of them with the bluntness. "I'm offering it because I watched a room of powerful adults freeze today. You didn't. Companies are full of people who wait for permission." "I'm starving for the ones who act." Ms. Alvarez tapped her cane and smiled. "Sounds like you've got yourself a boss who knows what she's doing." "About that," Daniel said, softer now. "If we do this, I want something else too. Not for me." He squeezed Evan's shoulder. "Our community center pool shut down last year. Kids lost swim lessons. If we're going to pretend safety matters, let's prove it. Help me fund lessons. 10 Saturdays, free, for anyone in the building." Charlotte's answer was immediate. "Done, and we'll add lifeguard training scholarships for teens." Evan exploded. "We can swim again." Daniel blinked hard. "Looks like it, champ." A shadow fell across the table. The catering manager hovered at the edge of the lot, holding a folded invoice. I told you to send that to my office," Charlotte said without turning. The manager shifted. "I also need to tell you that someone live-streamed the, pool incident. It's already on the internet." Daniel's jaw tightened. Ms. Alvarez clicked her tongue. Evan's face clouded in the way of a kid who's learned adults can make trouble out of good things. Charlotte straightened. "Then here's our story if anyone asks," she said, voice cool and clear as glass. "A man saw a person in danger and did the right thing. No sponsorships, no hero capes. If anyone tries to sell his kindness for clicks, they'll find my lawyers have free time tonight." The manager gulped and retreated. Daniel exhaled. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Charlotte said. "If you take the contract, people will say you leveraged a rescue. If you don't take it, they'll call you unambitious. Either way, they'll talk." She lifted a slice of pizza and tapped it lightly against his. "So let's give them something worth talking about. A dad who builds a life his son can stand on, and a CEO who remembers what leadership actually means." He clinked crust to crust, almost smiling. "Deal." Evan leaned in, pizza grease on his lip. "Does this mean I get goggles?" Daniel laughed, a sound that shook something loose in his chest. "Yeah, buddy. It means you get goggles." As the sun dipped and the lot lights flickered on, the three of them ate at a scarred table behind a tired building, sharing a peace that felt fragile and real. Around them, the city kept hustling, hustling, hustling. But here, for a rare moment, no one was drowning. Here they were already learning how to breathe. The next morning, the world hadn't forgotten. The video of Daniel diving into the pool had gone viral overnight. Clips of him cutting through the water like a bullet, pulling Charlotte Hayes to safety, were everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, the evening news. Some framed him as a hero. Others twisted it. CEO saved by broke single dad. Was it staged? Daniel hated every second of it. He kept the blinds drawn in their small apartment, while Evan bounced from window to window, whispering, "Dad, we're famous." "Infamous," Daniel muttered, pouring cereal. Big difference. At 9 a.m., his phone rang. Unknown number. He ignored it. Then another. And another, until finally a knock came at the door. When he opened it, Charlotte herself stood there, hair pinned back, sharp suit immaculate, eyes heavy from no sleep but still burning with authority. Behind her, 2 men in suits loitered by the stairwell. "I warned the press to leave you alone," she said softly. "They didn't listen. They never do," Daniel said. "You didn't have to come here." "I did." Her voice lowered. "I need to explain something. That pool incident. It wasn't an accident." He stared at her. "What?" "The tiles were checked last week, no damage. But the footage shows someone spilling oil across the edge before I walked out. Deliberate." She paused, swallowing. "Someone wanted me gone." Daniel felt the floor tilt. "So I didn't just pull you out of an accident. I stopped a murder." "Attempted," she corrected, but her voice cracked. "My company is under siege. Rival bids. Insider sabotage. And if word spreads that I can't even keep myself safe, you'll bleed sharks," Daniel finished grimly. Her eyes softened at his bluntness. "Exactly," he rubbed his temple. "Why are you telling me?" "I'm just a mechanic who happened to be standing close enough." "Because you didn't freeze," she said. "Because you jumped when everyone else weighed their options. And because you're the only person in the last 24 hours who hasn't tried to sell me a solution." Evan tugged at his father's sleeve. "Dad, is she in danger?" Daniel crouched to meet his son's wide eyes. "Yeah, bud." "She might be." Charlotte knelt too, surprising them both. "But your dad made sure I'm here today. That's why I trust him." Evan smiled faintly, the kind of smile that lit a dark room. "Then you should stay here." "Dad always fixes things." The words punched Daniel in the chest. He ruffled his son's hair. "That's not how this works, champ. She's got her world. We've got ours." But Charlotte shook her head. "Maybe our worlds need each other right now." By afternoon, Daniel was in her office, a skyscraper suite of glass and chrome. Executives whispered as he passed, eyes flicking to his worn boots, the faint grease stains on his jacket. But Charlotte ignored them. She pulled him into the boardroom, closed the door, and dropped a folder onto the table. Inside, photos of the poolside tiles, the oil stain, a blurry still of a shadowed figure leaving through a service gate. "They'll come again," she said flatly. "If they see me rattled, they'll keep pushing until I break. And where do I fit? As someone I can trust." She leaned forward, eyes locked on his. "Not a bodyguard, not an employee. Someone who'll say no when I need to hear it, and yes when no one else will act. My world is built on people faking loyalty. I don't need another sycophant." He exhaled slowly. "You don't know me well enough to trust me like that? I know you well enough to know you risked your life for someone you didn't even like." Her honesty made him snort despite the tension. Fair point, but inside he wrestled with it. He had Evan to protect, stability to maintain, and yet some part of him, the part that once dreamed of being more than just a paycheck-to-paycheck survivor, felt alive again under her gaze. "Okay," he said at last. "I'll help. But we do it my way. No suits, no spin. And if Evan's safety gets even a shadow of a threat, I walk." She extended her hand. "Deal!" When he shook it, something shifted. Not just a business arrangement, not charity. A partnership, fragile, dangerous, but real. That night, Daniel tucked Evan into bed. The boy's voice was muffled under the blanket. "Dad, did you say yes?" "Yeah, buddy." "I said yes." "Good," Evan whispered, half asleep. "She needs you." "Just like I do." Daniel sat in the dark a long while after that, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in years, the exhaustion felt purposeful. Not just survival, but maybe, just maybe, the start of something larger. And outside, in the quiet street below, a car idled too long before pulling away. reminding him that saving Charlotte once might not be enough.